Since NASCAR was born, we've gotten the chance to watch our favorite drivers win in thrilling photo finishes.
We're going to drag race to the start-finish line. They bang sideways at the line. Photo finish. So Larson, by 1/1000th of a second, will edge out Chris Buescher.
We've stood by our favorite drivers during the ups and downs. After a long, grueling NASCAR season, we've seen disappointment and frustration as drivers fall below playoff cut lines and the sheer joy and excitement when they lift the Bill France Cup.
Ryan Blaney is a NASCAR Cup Series champion.
Oh, man. Thank you, guys, man.
In a sport where lead changes happen in the blink of an eye, one thing always stays the same. Each year, we get to watch one person's dreams become a reality. And over the past 20 years since NASCAR's Drive for Diversity program was founded, we've watched drivers who graduated from the program drive change in our sport.
Kyle Larson a year ago watched the race from North Carolina. Today, he's a Cup Series champion.
Oh, my God, guys. Yes!
History made once again. It's official. Bubba Wallace gets his first career win. He's just the second African-American to ever win at the highest level of NASCAR. An entire country behind him. Daniel Suárez from Mexico, the first Latin American driver to win a NASCAR National Series championship.
Currently, 3 graduates of the Drive for Diversity program are racing at the top of the sport. Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace, and Daniel Suárez have become household names for NASCAR fans. And I'd be willing to bet one of them is probably your favorite driver. While these 3 may be some of the most talked about competitors today, they are just a few of the names who have come through the Drive for Diversity program. Like Larson, Bubba, and Suárez, many drivers were once just kids with a love for racing and a dream. So how exactly did they go from racing go-karts, sprint cars, or even racing online to competing in front of thousands at the sport's highest level? Well, the path was not always easy for these drivers, but as they'll tell you, it was all worth it. You're listening to Driving Change, a celebration of 20 years of NASCAR's Drive for Diversity. I'm your host, Crystal Clay, and we are about to explore how these drivers came to the Drive for Diversity program as teens with a dream and left as stars racing at NASCAR's highest levels.
The Drive for Diversity program is NASCAR's effort to develop minority and women drivers.
NASCAR's Drive for Diversity brought 30 promising young racers to Charlotte, North Carolina.
I ain't never been to one of these.
Green flag, green flag.
They got their first taste of competition in legend cars.
Pretty impressive. I know.
And while some racers triumphed, others crashed and burned.
Bubba's road to the Cup Series may be a little more unconventional than many of his competitors. Believe it or not, it was Bubba's stellar performance running in bandoleros and legend cars that led him into the homes of millions of Americans. That's right. Wallace showcased his talents on BET's Changing Lanes, a TV show where he was one of 30 young drivers vying for a spot to drive in NASCAR's Drive for Diversity program with Rev Racing.
What did you guys think of Darrell Wallace Jr.?
I was holding my breath, to be honest with you, when he went out because I wanted him to be fast. That was more than impressive, to be honest with you.
And I don't think that his blood pressure, his heartbeat up went one beat. Darrell Wallace, 16 years old, is a prodigy.
Darrell, everybody's gunning for you in the program. You came back. What was it like getting on the track this time?
It was pretty fun. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what I come here to do, is have fun. And I went out there and did exactly that, and it was fun.
Did you feel like you had to come out here and really prove yourself anymore than what you already done?
I think so, because they knew what us last 4 were capable of, and they wanted to see if we still got it, and that's what I come out here to do, is show them that I still have it and I got more.
All eyes and cameras were on Bubba as he excelled on the show, finishing second and securing a spot with Rev Racing. Last episode, we looked at some of Bubba's wins as he worked his way up through ARCA, the Truck Series, and Xfinity Series before hopping in the driver's seat of a Cup car for the first time in 2017. He was the first African American to race in the Cup Series since Bill Lester in 2006.
Let's welcome in Bubba Wallace, driver of the Smithfield Ford 43. And we saw your tweet, Bob, and thanks for taking a few moments. How excited you were about your first Cup race. Tell us about your nerves minutes away from getting in and competing in your first Cup race.
I feel the same as I do 2 days ago before climbing in for the first time in the Smithfield Ford. Just having a lot of fun taking it in and really enjoying the moment. That's what pretty much all the texts have been, just to enjoy this moment, make the most of it. My job is to go out here and just run the best I can. No need to be a superhero. The King has told me that multiple times. Just go out here and do the best that I can.
Bubba battled ups and downs during his first few seasons driving at the Cup level, but things seemed to fall into place for the driver in 2020. When Michael Jordan announced that he and NASCAR veteran Denny Hamlin would join forces to create 2311 Racing, and that Bubba would be behind the wheel of their 23 car.
Well, it's rare that the greatest superstar in one sport reaches out to become an owner in another sport. Thought of as the world's best basketball player, Michael Jordan has ventured into ownership in NASCAR, teaming up with driver Denny Hamlin.
Imagine having Michael Jordan as your owner, and you're starting your season off right here, the biggest race, a race that Bubba Wallace can win.
I mean, when the GOAT comes calling, you've got to answer the call. And 1 year later, Bubba Wallace did just that, bringing the 2311 team a monumental win that would go down in history.
Over 50 years ago, Wendell Scott was the first. Bubba Wallace now, officially, the winner at Talladega.
I want to know what it means to you, the second African-American, first since Wendell Scott, to get to victory lane at this level.
Yeah, I never think about those things, and when you say it like that, it obviously brings a lot of emotion, a lot of joy to my family, fans, friends. It's pretty damn cool. So just proud to be a winner in the Cup Series.
The significance of doing it here, it's almost appropriate, isn't it, Bubba? You told me last year here, a low point for you. To get the first win here, significant?
Yeah, for sure. This is all those kids out there that want to have an opportunity and whatever they want to achieve and be the best at what they want to do. And you're going to go through a lot of bull, but you always got to stick true to your path and not let the nonsense get to you. And stay strong, stay humble, stay hungry. There's been plenty of times where I wanted to give up, and you surround yourself with the right people, and it's moments like this that you appreciate.
Bubba, there's a lot of people in this garage area and a lot of people around the world that are very proud of you right now. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There was a lot of success for the Drive for Diversity alumni in 2021. Kyle Larson, a California native and Drive for Diversity driver, dominated in the regular season and went into the playoffs at the top of the point standings. Larson was immersed in the sport of racing from a very early age. His mother, Janet, who is Japanese, and father, Mike, took Larson to his very first race in Elk Grove, California, just 1 week after he was born. So he almost literally has been listening to the sound of race cars since the day he was born. As Larson got older, he started racing sprint cars, but was also drawn to other forms of racing. He's even admitted that he almost went the IndyCar route before signing with Earnhardt Ganassi Racing in 2012 as part of the Drive for Diversity program. He'd make his debut in the Truck Series in June of that year at Kentucky, where he finished 10th. And just 2 years later, he had a full-time ride in the Cup Series. Larson is thankful for the opportunities he's been given in the sport, but he knows that when it comes to the Drive for Diversity program, what's important is paying it forward so others have the same opportunities that he's had.
And you could already see the emotion, what it means to Kyle Larson. Every single vehicle he gets behind the wheel of, he has won the biggest races. And today, he wins the biggest in NASCAR.
Here he is, climbing out of the car, celebrating with his team. Kyle Larson, congratulations. You are a Cup Series champion.
I cannot believe it. I didn't even think I'd be racing a Cup car a year and a half ago. And to win a championship is crazy.
The D4D program was good for my career, kind of gave me my introduction into stock car racing and gained a lot of experience, not only on the racetrack, but off of it as well. With everything that they offer there at Rev Racing when I was there. They've produce some great drivers, and it's cool to see. And hopefully we can add some more D4D guys onto the championship lifts down the road.
Another driver who is looking to bring home a Cup championship of his own is Daniel Suarez. The Trackhouse driver was born and raised in Monterrey, Mexico, and began his racing career in karting. He quickly excelled and began racing in the NASCAR Mexico Series. After a solid performance in the series, Suarez took a leap of faith. He made the difficult decision to move to the United States to chase his dreams of becoming a NASCAR Cup driver.
When I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2011, I was really looking at opportunities, looking for a sponsorship to be able to run in the K&N series, now the ARCA series. By 2012, I was struggling a lot. I was on the edge of really going back to Mexico. At the time, I didn't speak English. So at the time, I could not inform myself. My communication with people from NASCAR was very, very minimum because I couldn't speak. So even if the NASCAR had a full article about NASCAR Drive for Diversity in English, I couldn't read it. So it was a little bit difficult for me to really understand. There was a group of NASCAR Latino in NASCAR that I became friends with, and at one point they talked to me about it, and I thought to myself, you know what, I need to give a shot to this diversity program. I applied to be part of the Combine, and I went to the Combine at the end of 2012, and I was part of the program for 2013 and 14.
And just 1 year after joining NASCAR's Drive for Diversity program, Suarez was celebrating in victory lane.
Off at turn 4, here they come to the finish. It's Daniel Suarez who gets the checkered flag at New Smyrna. Suarez celebrating for the second time in his career. He is climbing out of the car in victory lane. Oh, the young man is happy, as he should be.
For Suarez, it was the lessons he learned at Rev Racing and in the Drive for Diversity program that helped him take his career to the next level.
The program really helps a lot. I mentioned earlier how important it is for drivers coming from a different country, from a different continent, just to have a guidance of what to do and not to do, to learn the culture and things like that. In a way, drivers coming from a different country, when they come to NASCAR in the United States, they're in a huge disadvantage versus the drivers that they've been here for a very, very long time. In the culture, how knowing, understanding the car, the racetrack, the communication, all these different things. Just simple things. Like, for example, when I was learning English, I remember people telling me, okay, when the car doesn't turn very good, the car is tight. And when the car doesn't have a lot of rear grip, the car is loose. So if you think about it, I remember thinking back then when I was learning English, trying to translate these words into Spanish. And it does not make any sense, If you translate these words into Spanish, it does not make sense that tight doesn't turn and loose, it goes from the back of the car. So, things like that, things that, for young drivers here in the United States, they're common sense, right? Because when they were 3, 4, 5 years old, they already knew what tight and loose mean. And that's just a small example of 1,000 different examples that are out there. So, it's very important just to learn and learn the language, because even though that is English, is a different kind of racing English, so it's important to understand it.
And one win at a time, Suarez began climbing up the ranks of NASCAR's K&N series.
Right now I feel like I am in a dream.
You are a young kid from Mexico, and now you're a winner at Daytona. How does that feel?
It's amazing, man. I can't explain with words what I feel right now. I just want to say thank you to NASCAR, to Rev Racing, Drive for Diversity program, to Carlos in Mexico, Jimmy Morales, Jose Suárez, Gustavo Arenas, my dad, my family. They can be supporting me a lot all the time. Man, I mean, like I say, I have no words to explain this.
And little did he know, 7 years later in Miami, Florida, he would once again be at a loss for words, this time as a NASCAR Xfinity champion.
The pride of Monterrey, Mexico is free and clear with less than a lap to go, but it is all Daniel Suarez heading for 3.
Daniel Suarez brings his Toyota off from turn number 4, flashes down the front straightaway. Daniel Suarez wins the Ford EcoBoost 300, and he wins the 2016 NASCAR Xfinity Series Championship.
Obviously, it's going to be a very emotional time. Daniel Suarez, the first ever Latin American NASCAR Xfinity Series champion, with his experience in the Drive for Diversity program and where he's run in the K&N Pro Series, up through the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, and now NASCAR Xfinity Series champion. What a career climb for Daniel Suarez.
Daniel told me growing up in Mexico, you said, I didn't have a lot of money, I had a dream, but honestly, when you moved to the United States, did you think that this dream would come true?
Man, I don't think I can speak English right now, man. I'm just wordless. Man, obviously, my family's worked super hard since I was 11 years old to give me the right equipment to get better.
You said this week, I'm not just racing for Mexico, I'm racing for all of Latin America. So what would you like to say to them in Spanish right now?
Muchas gracias a todos, gracias por su gran apoyo, fin de semana con fin de semana. Esta va para todos ustedes.
Do you do this for your country today, Daniel?
For my country and for everyone, all the fans here, all the media from Mexico. I just can't believe it. This is a dream come true.
Suarez is the first and only Mexican-born driver to win a NASCAR Cup Series race and the first foreign-born driver to claim a NASCAR National Series championship. When we sat down to talk with Daniel, he mentioned just how honored he is to represent Latin America in NASCAR. He's also happy to watch fellow Drive for Diversity drivers turn their very own dreams into a reality.
It definitely gives me a lot of pride to have accomplished all these different things. I love it. I love embracing the fact that I have a different background than 99% of the drivers here in NASCAR, and I love that, I really embrace that. I just offer help because I know that when I was in that position, it was a little bit tricky not to have anything or anyone to really offer guidance.
What a moment this is going to be for this young man, Rajah Caruth, up through the front stretch looking for the checkered flag, and he takes it.
Growing up in D.C., Rajah Caruth watched the careers of Larson, Bubba, and Suárez unfold before his very eyes. His passion for racing started as a child, and he knew he wanted to one day be racing in the National Series, just like them. Rajah was 9 when he watched the movie Cars for the first time, and just like that, he was hooked. He wanted to watch cars race in real life, but living in D.C., the closest track to him was Richmond Raceway. If you don't know, that's about 2 hours away, without traffic. Since he wasn't close to many tracks, Rajah began racing virtually, at home. He began showcasing his talents and building his brand on a live streaming platform called Twitch, which allowed viewers to interact with him in real time while he sim raced. I got the chance to ask Rajah if he believes sim racing gave him valuable experiences that can be transferred over to racing at a national level.
I mean, 100% also from a connection standpoint, because I didn't really honestly have the funding to be able to start racing from a legend car standpoint, from a karting standpoint. And so iRacing was my really only option from a cost perspective in the first place. And then from connections I developed on the sim as well. So I think it's just the easiest way to get involved in racing if you don't have a track that's nearby. So I'd say that the best option, right, is to start showing up at your local racetrack, whether it's a short track, a Cup Series track, I mean, any car, whatever the case may be, to just kind of put a name with a face, get yourself out there and make a difference. And then obviously for people that grow up in cities, it's not that easy to do so. So sim racing, I think, is the next best option and the most inexpensive option as well. I met some of the people in the Drive for Diversity program in the fall of 2018, Jefferson Hodges, Matt Booker, Christy Garwell, Phil Horton, Brandon Thompson at Dover, the K&N East. Really from that way forward, that was the first initial introduction that I made to them. And I was iRacing at that time, very, very green into it, but making kind of a name for myself. And then also building up like my social media. And so with that being said, I applied for the youth program for the following season and made it to the tryout there in March of 2019.
All the valuable lessons he took from sim racing and the Drive for Diversity program helped him make his debut in the Xfinity Series. On April 2nd of 2022, at the very same track his love for the sport was born, Richmond Raceway.
The Xfinity Series from Richmond Raceway. It is approaching. It looks like a perfect day out in Richmond, Virginia. So, guys, who are we going to be watching? Who you have your eye on?
Well, I'm looking right here. This is Caruth. This is a great story. Came here in 2014. His parents brought him here as a surprise to see his first race. He looks pretty calm right there, Caitlin, but I bet he's nervous making his first start today in the Xfinity Series.
And it was only up from there. Raja made his full-time trucks debut in 2023. And 2024 may have been the biggest year of all for the 22-year-old. Not only did he join the Spire Motorsports family, but his name would go down as a National Series winner for the first time in his career.
Raja Caruth wins in Las Vegas, his very first NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series victory. A great moment for Raja Caruth. Let's go down the pit road.
We talked earlier, and I was explaining to you the start of the season you had put together, and you said, I don't want to talk about that. Talk to me after I get that win out here tonight. Talk to me about the emotions you're feeling right now.
Yeah, man, it's surreal. I thank you so much to HendryCars.com and Mr. H for putting me in this thing all year. My guys had me a great stop, and we just executed. So there's more to come for sure.
Man, it was a lot of days, especially in high school, that I did not think I could get here. I can't tell you how many times, I was at internship in my junior year, working on my website when I was just iRacing, and a lot of those days I didn't think this would be, at all possible. But I think tonight, earning the win tonight, hopefully it's just some validation, right? For myself, it helps just because obviously you have your own doubts, and self-talk is a really important thing, and so it's great to kind of get over that hump a little bit. So I just got to keep going and lean on my circle.
We're now joined by NASCAR Cup Series driver Daniel Suárez.
Yeah, you have no idea how happy I was for him. He's a great young man, not just a very talented race car driver, but also very dedicated. We get to see each other almost every week, training or doing different things, and I like him a lot. I consider him a friend, and he knows this, and we all know this, but the first one is always the most difficult one to get. And I'm sure that he's going to win at least a few times this year. He's very disciplined. He works hard. He made history last night, being the third African-American driver to win the National Series, and it's very special. Obviously, he's also graduated from the Drive for Diversity, just like myself, just like Bubba Wallace, and many others. So very happy that we're seeing good talent from the Drive for Diversity program coming to a National Series, being successful.
March 1st of 2024 in Las Vegas, Raja secured his first NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series win. Following in the footsteps of Hall of Famer Wendell Scott and Bubba Wallace, Raja became the third African-American driver to win at the National Series level. That thrilling finish also gave him the chance to race for the 2024 Truck Series Championship. Raja weighed in on what he thinks his win will do for the future of the sport.
Well, I was asked this question after Las Vegas about how I feel like things would change the sport. And essentially I was like, well, I would hope that one day that the sport, not just from being on the inside, but drivers, engineers, pit crew members, obviously, and people at NASCAR and fans, that is as diverse as the country is. There's so many different types of people that live here in the United States of America, from hundreds of different countries and continents across the planet. For me, diversity is like a legitimate efforts to include everybody. Creating gender, race, sexuality, ethnicity, you name it. To just create an environment where everybody is eligible and can compete and be present, but also it's a welcoming experience, and there's not, preconceived notions or bias or prejudice towards, people that aren't normally from those areas. I would love for racing, and NASCAR in particular, to be as diverse as the country is.
He contributes much of his success to his parents, who came to this country to give their family a better life.
Growing up with both of my parents in a Caribbean household, my dad being from St. Vincent, my mom being from Barbados, London, and St. Vincent as well. So growing up in that kind of dynamic in the house with that type of culture is super special. Both of my parents, my sister, and my greater extended family are really one of the key factors in my success. Taking me to my first race when I was 12, to helping me get started on iRacing when I was 16, 15 years old, to my first races in Legend Cars in the diversity program, to moving to North Carolina, really to, my first Xfinity starts, truck races, and just being around and doing things for me on the business side and financial side of life as well.
And another driver who graduated from the 2021 Drive for Diversity class with Raja is having a breakout season of his own. Nick Sanchez and Raja Caruth were once racing against one another on regional tracks, but now they square off each week in the Truck Series. Sanchez, the current driver of the number 2 Chevrolet truck, was born and raised in Miami, Florida. In 1980, his family immigrated to the United States from Cuba in search for a better life. He saw his first race at the age of 5 at Homestead Miami Speedway, and at the age of 12, Sanchez was thrilled when he finally convinced his parents to let him try racing. After getting his start in kart racing, Sanchez was hungry to hop in a car. But it was then that Sanchez and his family were faced with the question, how do you get into NASCAR? The now 21-year-old driver didn't grow up around the sport, and his parents weren't familiar with it either. This made it difficult for Sanchez's parents to figure out how to get their son through the door and into a race car.
I believe the year was like 2016, and I was turning 15 that summer, and I had been in karting for 3.5 years, and I feel like it was time to move to race cars. Me and my mom were kind of searching up, possible sponsorship opportunities because it's expensive in racing. So, I knew NASCAR came to Homestead Miami Speedway once a year, and I knew they had 3 divisions. I had no idea what other divisions they had, K&N, late models, legend cars. So in the process, we found, kind of the feeder series to get to NASCAR. And then we found Rev Racing. So myself being Cuban American, my dad being from Havana, Cuba, I applied to the program in 2017 for a legend car spot. And got in. My situation is really unique because I joined the team in 2017 in a legend car, and I actually got on without a combine. There was really no youth combine, but I guess fast forward to my first real combine in a late model. I'd only been in a late model one previous time. It's a huge jump from go-karts to legend cars, right? No Hans, no radio, so everything was foreign to me, and then you throw in the fact that I'm racing on an oval. I'd never seen the track we were going to. Pretty much the only one without full body stock car experience. So I felt like, mostly I was there as, maybe a seat filler. But I knew it was a perfect opportunity to prove myself.
Sanchez went above and beyond in his efforts to prove himself. His performance at the ARCA level was stellar. Nick clinched his first ARCA win in 2021 at Kansas, and in 2022, he brought home a trophy for Rev Racing.
Yep, we're catching up with the champion right now. He's getting congratulations from the president of ARCA, Ron Dreger, right now, also his crew chief. Put this in perspective for me. What's it like to capture this championship?
Oh, yeah, it's huge for me, but, Max Eagle Rev Racing, the people that got me here. 10 years ago, they won the Can-Am East title with Kyle Larson, so it's cool to get them this 10 years later. And, Gainbridge, Chevrolet, everyone who helps on this program, and, mainly Max Eagle. He deserves it, and I know he's watching. And I'm glad to have his wife Jennifer here, and we'll celebrate.
Max told us earlier this week that it would be like watching one of his children win the championship because he saw you mature over 5 years. What's the journey over those last 5 years been like for you?
Yeah, I started with Max and Legend Cars, and, his program built me into the driver I am today, and it's given me the opportunities, in the Xfinity Series and so on. So to have this, to get this for him is crazy, and, started driving for him in 2017, so 5 years later, this is where we're at.
So from Legend Cars to an ARCA championship, congratulations, Nick.
Thank you.
It's obviously really cool to be able to get that ARCA championship for Max and Rev Racing, and 10 years after Larson won his K&N East title. So obviously really good company to be in, and it's still amazing to think, and it was an amazing accomplishment by the team, and I feel like that also sparked a little bit more. Not like there wasn't already interest in the team, but just it's such a good accolade to have from Max and Rev Racing to show that they could produce champions.
Nick was also recognized for his efforts off the track, receiving the Wendell Scott Trailblazer Award. The award pays tribute to the late Hall of Famer Wendell Scott, who became the first African American to win a NASCAR Cup Series event in 1963. To win this award, one must be well-rounded, displaying exceptional on-track performance, good sportsmanship, and the driver must give back to the community.
The Wendell Scott Award meant a lot to me. Obviously, you're competing against, drivers, all around the country in the Wheeling All-American Series at the time. And, it's not just isolated to a singular division or, state, right? It's a countrywide competition. And yeah, like you said, like it's so many factors, including on-track performance, but so many other things. So it's really cool to kind of put all that together. I feel like that was my first year of getting a little bit better at media, just carrying myself a little bit better as a driver, and obviously on-track stuff too. So I think that was kind of like the first step of me culminating myself into a better driver all around it.
Sanchez vividly remembers the day that all his hard work paid off when he got a life-changing phone call.
You might never think it's going to happen, but yeah, I mean, when it all happened, it was kind of crazy because so many pieces had to fall together perfectly for it to happen, and it happened. So it was definitely an amazing day when I had that call Max in Gainbridge, and offered me the ride.
And in his third season competing in the Truck Series, Nick got his first win at the national level in his home state at Daytona International Speedway.
Nick Sanchez, when he was 5, taken to a race at Homestead, Miami by his uncle. He fell in love with NASCAR, and the Florida kid going to win for the first time in his career at Daytona International Speedway.
Nick, you have been so close so many times in the Truck Series last year. You come to Daytona, you get your first career win. How does it feel?
Pretty surreal, especially with how the race started. I'm covered in dirt from it. But just a big thanks to my team, sticking with me all last year. We were winless. It hurt. We should have won. But we redeemed ourselves in the first race possible. So big thanks to Rev Racing Inspire, Max Siegel, Gainbridge, Dan Towers, everyone that helps us, and it's definitely going to be a good year.
Nick Sanchez, your Craftsman Truck Series winner in Daytona.
Yeah, I think that's a very big thing, the giving back side. This program is only as good as the last driver it produces, and I'm lucky to come through this program. And I had drivers before me that mentored me, kind of, and just coming back here, maybe once or twice a week, and having 1 or 2 conversations with the current drivers, if it sparks any sort of thing in their head, if it can make them a little bit better, that's amazing. And obviously I'm kind of like an open book when it comes to Q&A and questions and stuff like that. So yeah, I love interacting with the current drivers on the team, and trying to help them any way I can. The Drive Diversity program means to me opportunity for anyone, really, and I think I fall into that category. You can look at it for a lot of things, but at the end of the day, it's an opportunity to make it in NASCAR. And I think that's what people need to look at, right? It's an opportunity and a shot for someone that doesn't really come from a background that you'd associate with stock car racing to make a name for themselves and try to win races and championships in the sport. I mean, it's a huge deal for NASCAR and Rev Racing, and I think it's really important, to be committed to the diversity side. And I feel like bringing people from backgrounds and cultures that you don't normally associate with racing, even myself, right? Being from Miami, you talk about drivers. I would say, the Hispanic Latin drivers are not only, diverse background-wise and culturally, the racing we do. So I feel like you bring people from racing backgrounds that are totally different than NASCAR, and I feel like that's another aspect that a lot of people don't realize. But yeah, I think it's huge. It was a huge opportunity for myself, and I know there's many other guys at the Cup level that probably wouldn't get those opportunities without the program.
These are just a fraction of the stories about young drivers overcoming obstacles and defying the odds to make it in NASCAR. Now, if you're listening to this podcast and thinking to yourself, I've got what it takes to be the next NASCAR star, go check out our website, www.nascar.com/diversity, for more information. Next time on Driving Change, we'll take a look at the backbone of our sport, the pit crew. We'll look at how pit crew teams have evolved since the start of the sport and get a chance to meet some of the over-the-wall athletes.
Played another season of arena football, gave me a call in the spring, said he wanted to come back. We talked about some of the shortcomings that he had. He's lost 20 pounds. He looks much better. And you might have a chance. All right, second time around, right? Let's see what you got, okay?
That just shows if you don't make it this year, it all isn't lost. You have the opportunity to come back.
over the cone, look down at the cone, look down at the cone, over the cone. Look down at it. Keep, there you go. Get them up, get those legs up. There you go, get them up, get them up. You ready? Jackman, you ready? Move on the Jackman.
Yeah.